Martin Scorsese's quote about Marvel movies has really stuck with me over the years. Calling the MCU movies theme park rides really caused a stir online, mostly because his opinion is more nuanced than the quote was able to convey. I think he missed the mark in a way that people don't talk about. He picked the right series, but the wrong art form. I want to talk about this quote in relation to film's younger brother. All of the MCU shows are not television. They're theme park rides, except for one. Netflix's Daredevil is quite possibly the best superhero show of all time. It's a tough choice between it and Invincible for me. The character writing is perfect. Charlie Cox is seriously one of the best casting choices in the MCU next to Iron Man. The cinematography is art, and it's only elevated by outstanding color grading. I remember there was a restaurant with Christmas lights all around it in one episode, and it was beautiful. Someone on Reddit took pictures of the inside of the real restaurant without the color grading, and it was way less of a vibe. I would go into more depth about the fight scenes, but if you've seen anything from this show, it's going to be those moments. And there's just so many parts of this show that I still think about 6 years out of its cancellation. Hallway scene 1, Fisk's introduction, the flashbacks for Matt and Fisk in general, that one wall, Frank and Matt's debates, Hallway scene 2, Bullseye's backstory. Seriously, I don't know why they went this hard for the scene. The primal scream, and the season 3 finale. Just to name a few. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were good. We're just going to pretend that it was only those 3 shows though. But Daredevil is something special to the point that I don't know if I can string together a series of words to truly express how good it is. And I am terrified that Disney is going to drop the ball. It's obvious that Disney cut the Defenders saga because they wanted to make shows on their own service instead of Netflix. So going into their first show, WandaVision, I'm going to be honest, I was pretty salty, and I was worried that I lost one of my favorite series of all time so they could make worse TV shows. And those shows are one of the reasons why I'm worried that Disney might drop the ball. In my opinion, Daredevil is television. The Disney Plus shows, on the other hand, are not. They're theme park rides. So much of what I loved from Daredevil is gone. Everything became more surface level. The writing took a step down. Visually, these shows had a weaker identity for me. When I think of the shows like Falcon and Winter Soldier, a color palette does not come to mind, excluding WandaVision. But that show hinged on a relationship that I do not care about and was genuinely confused when people were loving it so much. I remember everyone's big complaint out of Infinity War was how cringe some of their scenes were. I didn't think they were as bad as everyone was saying, but it still wasn't good enough in that movie to get me invested here. The Agatha twist was dumb as hell and completely ruined the whole story for me. Seriously, this is a hill that I will die on. Then they really cheapened the already shaky ground that the WandaVision relationship was built on. But it's fine because look, they brought in Fox's Quicksilver. Kinda, but not really. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I also didn't really like that much. It felt like that show really had something to say, but wasn't allowed to fully express it. So last minute, it cheapens any point it was going to make and sums it up with,
"You've got to do better, Senator."
This is actually one of the saddest lines ever. Yeah, the world sucks and some people are really being left behind. Should we look at the system that's failing people post-blip and change it? Nah, just send it better, Fivehead. Hawkeye, I did not watch because there wasn't a Jeremy Renner themed social media app I could talk about it on. What If, I think, is one of the biggest blunders in the MCU. Not only does it not really get the concept of what if that well, but it gave me one of my least favorite episodes in television history. And I watched 3 seasons of Riverdale. God, those musical episodes were awful. I really hate the Party Thor episode so much. It's like Love and Thunder cranked up to 1,000,011. Loki, I actually kind of liked, mostly because it was weird and new. The last Disney Plus show I watched was She-Hulk because I love Daredevil too much. It's whatever. I don't hate it as much as most people. If you have so much smoke for this show but say nothing about the Thor episode of What If, I seriously do not know what you're smoking. I fucking hate that episode so much, man. It is seriously the worst aspects of the MCU on full display. And yeah, That was it for the Disney Plus shows for me. I didn't get into What If Season 2, Miss Marvel, Echo, and whatever the other shows are. While writing, those were the only other shows that I could remember the names of. Hey, Editing Matt here. I just remembered I watched Moon Knight. That should tell you how much I cared for it. In my opinion, Daredevil at its worst is still better than the Disney Plus shows at their best. At Daredevil's best, Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. Saying, I don't like these shows, except for Loki, isn't enough to prove my thesis that they're not television. I would have to be a pompous jackass to leave it at that. I think these shows aren't television because they never felt like shows to me. Every one of the live action shows felt like it could have been a movie. In fact, it felt like a movie stretched out over the course of 10 episodes, which I think was a large reaction when these shows first came out. And in 2023, I had those opinions justified when this Hollywood Reporter article came out. They weren't making these shows like shows. They were making them like movies. They didn't have full-time TV execs working on them. We need executives that are dedicated to this medium, that are going to focus on streaming, focus on television, because they are two different forms. I don't know why they weren't doing that from the start. If I'm remembering correctly, Kevin Feige and whoever was in charge of the Netflix side of things initially did get into a lot of beef, so I wonder if that fear was still around when they were making the Disney Plus shows. But not hiring people that specialize in TV isn't the worst thing that they did to those poor shows. The article went on to reveal that they had to revamp their development process to include concrete pilots and a series Bible. Hey, the fun fact about making TV shows, those are mandatory. I can't believe they were running and gunning these shows. Just from a development standpoint, you need a concrete pilot to show what the episodes are going to be like. I think that was the most obvious sign for a lot of people as to why they didn't feel like TV shows. Because when you're watching them, it doesn't really feel like it has a concrete structure that you can see within each episode. The plot is just going forward like a movie. No matter how a show is structured, there needs to be a similar pattern throughout the episodes. Along with the pilot, you need a strong series Bible to give a full overview of the show. It's called a Bible in the industry for a reason. It is the gospel of the show, and they just weren't doing it for some reason. Like, it's still something that needs to be done for limited series. I genuinely thought I was losing my mind when I first read that Hollywood Reporter article. Like, did you guys learn nothing from the Netflix shows? I do not understand how you can make TV like that. I wish I was still in my writing program when that article dropped, because I would have loved to get my professor's opinions on it. Speaking of that film school program, do you know what we had to do for a full semester before we were allowed to write a pilot for any show we developed? We had to write a Bible first, because you need full character breakdowns, a general story synopsis, examples of episodes, how the A, B, and C plots would be structured in each episode, how cold opens and tags are structured. What Marvel was doing with these shows is the television equivalent of not having a game design document. That's why these shows aren't television. From the jump, they were not made like TV. Everything I was feeling towards these shows, everything everyone was feeling all at once, was proven right when this article dropped. Personally, I think it shows a lack of respect for the medium and the audience if this is how they were making them. It's just hard to see these projects as shows when they weren't made like shows, you know? But clearly Disney has learned from that first handful of shows because they changed their process. Undoubtedly, for the better. But I'm still worried about Born Again. Initially, it wasn't going to have Foggy and Karen. Not sure how they reworked the show to include them, but they better be major players. What really drove that fear for the show into my dome was comments the showrunner made, chief among them. The earlier show, at its best, was fantastic. At its worst, it was two characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I'm sorry, that's when the show was at its worst? I don't know about you guys, I thought the show was at its best when people were talking to each other. TV is naturally more conversational and dialogue focused than film, so that quote is really something when it comes to a TV show. The rest of the article doesn't help ease my worries at all. Quote, you had these long 5-page scenes of characters hashing it out in order to make space between these massive action set pieces. Do you know what my favorite episode from the original run is? Season 2, Episode 4, where Frank and Matt talk for like the entire time. What do you mean the characters talking is filler between action scenes? The talking is what makes it better than every other MCU show. Fuck! Cutting dialogue between fights is like cutting scenes in a musical because you want more time dedicated to singing. When I get people into the show, I use the first hallway fight scene as bait. But what hooks them are the characters, thanks to some great scenes with really good dialogue. There was one thing I liked from this interview. He went on to say the original show had more of a noir feel to it, and this one is more like a New York crime story like The Sopranos. Hey, do you know what were some of the best parts about The Sopranos? When the characters were talking. Saying we need less scenes of characters talking about what it means to be a hero is like saying we need less scenes of Tony in therapy. Just a heads up, you might not know this, but that's the point of those shows. Funny enough, the best part of the trailers that I've seen are when Matt and Fisk are talking. So maybe those elements will still be present and I'm crashing out over nothing. It's just terrifying to be excited for a show when the leads behind it are saying that talking is boring and we cut down on it to get to the best parts, the fights. It's just a dude bro mentality that I don't like. But again, this video is being uploaded the day the show comes out, assuming I'm able to finish it in time. We haven't seen much from it, so I can't really judge it based off of quotes alone. Like, the only concrete thing I've seen that I don't really like is the color grading in the trailer. It's not as vibrant as I would want it to be, but it is just trailers, so maybe we will be getting strong yellows and harsh blacks like the original show, or some cooler scenes too. I'm just worried that the same artistry we got in the original isn't going to go into this show. Based off of those comments, I'm worried they would have made Bullseye's backstory in a significantly shorter and less interesting way. I'm still going to watch it, but I'm scared. Nothing I've seen has inspired confidence. To be fully honest, this show is my off-ramp for the MCU. They canceled peak superhero TV for mid-superhero shows. And if the revival is significantly worse, my DC arc is starting this summer. This show could be the last MCU thing I watch. There is so much going through my mind about the original show and this new one that I honestly don't think I can get out of my head. Kinda wish I knew it was airing on Tuesday. For some reason, I assumed it was airing on Friday, so I do not have a lot of time to finish this video. No matter what happens with this new season. God, I hope I'm wrong about it. Go watch the original. It is the best television Marvel has to offer. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Like the video if you found it a little boring because there was too much of me talking and not enough fight scenes. And subscribe for more content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.